Sun Square Pluto is a challenging aspect. Pluto is a generational planet. When it comes to Pluto, um, because it's so far away from all the other planets, in astrology, the sun is considered a planet. Because Pluto's so far away, its energy, whenever it's aspecting a personal planet, so Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, its energy is felt as like an energy, as a cloud, you know? It's a vibe, it's a feeling. And so, with that energy aspecting or being in relationship with, affecting the sun, we see that the identity, the creativity, the purpose, the characteristic of the individual, it comes with this sort of air, this Plutonian air. So, and we'll talk more about that later. I'm just saying that just to set the scene. So with Sun Square Pluto, someone can be prone to having a large ego, you know? So the Sun Square Pluto can experience harsh reality checks throughout life, something to kind of, I guess, burst that bubble and bring them kind of back to life. Because there's a bit of a grandiosity, a largesse in the character. And it's interesting. I associate that with, I like to call it like an excess of pride, because it's not like someone's walking around saying, I'm, awesome possum. You know what I mean? Like, I'm great. It's just an overcompensation from my vantage point, an overcompensation of one characteristic or aspect, or a few of those, in the personality, that the person feels like, I know my stuff when it comes to this and I should be recognized for it. And because of that, there are all these other aspects of the personality that go like underdeveloped. And I feel like Pluto's job there is to help the person recognize that they can't just rely on this thing. There's so much more to them than this. And apart from that, the person can again have this sort of ego about what it is that they know or believe or have seen, that Pluto is, I feel, seeking to correct in this individual. So that's why I can feel like the bubble pops. So there's a great example by an actress called Betty Gilpin, who has this aspect. And she is speaking with a talk show host, and she's recalling a time when she was a young child. Her parents worked in theater. So they're backstage, she's backstage rather, and an actor comes off the stage after delivering a line, and I don't know, maybe he bungles the line a little bit, or he just doesn't, so that the audience has time to laugh or register. Like the pace and rhythm of what he delivered wasn't quite fine-tuned. And I'm sure the actor knows this, and he worked on that, But Betty, little Betty, the actor comes off the stage, and, she looks at him and she's like, you know what? When you do that thing, you really, you kind of, let's say, bungle the line, You don't give the audience enough time to react. We want them to laugh. So just hold on that for another 4 seconds. All right, Jerome? She said something like this to the actor, and he just kind of looked at her like, who is this child who's trying to tell me how to do my job, And he didn't say anything. I think he just kind of walked off, but she could see on his face that he was offended. And she was just telling the joke, to this late night show host as a joke, and it's funny. But the thing I love about it is that I feel like it's just such a Sun Square Pluto thing, because again, there's this excess of pride. Here she is, this little girl who's basically saying, I know theater, to this seasoned professional who has been an actor for some time, I presume, and has worked on his craft. And she's just a little girl. Her parents are people who are in theater, but she's a kid, she hasn't worked on all that as of yet. So I feel like that's such a Sun Square Pluto thing, because it could be this feeling about what I deserve, that I should be recognized for this thing. And then Pluto comes in to burst that bubble. In that moment, that man, he didn't really burst the bubble. He just kind of let it go because, you know, she's a kid, right? But she could see it on his face. I think if we, when we think about Sun Square Pluto, that's how Pluto is. Pluto, it's like every once in a while, Pluto comes in to kind of show its face and let the sun person know, I'm powerful. You're not the powerful one around here. I'm powerful. And I feel like that's done in an effort to help create some humility, some balance in the Sun Square Pluto person, in the sun person. So we'll talk more about that anyways. So some more traits about a Sun Square Pluto is that, I'm just looking at my notes. You know, sometimes I think that I really know what's happening when I don't. You know, that could be like a bit of a paranoia thing. We make great detectives, but when we get caught up in ego stuff, that's when our ability to see is compromised by the Pluto, the shadow. There can be big explosive ego clashes. But this energy is coming from the inside and is projected outwards onto circumstances, experiences in life, and experiences with people as well. But I think it's like life circumstances. So, for instance, if I'm waiting in a line at the DMV and I don't know, something happens and I'm asked to step out of, or no, let's say I'm going to the airport and I'm asked to step out of the line. You know, I'd be like, why was I asked to step out of the line? Maybe these people are picking on me. So you see, in that way, it becomes a bit of a potentially, it could be a bit of like a delusion of grandeur in a way. Like, I think I'm so important and special that these people are picking on me. I'm not saying that never happens, but I think with the Sun Square Pluto, the person can see a situation as being that internally. They don't have to blow up about it, but maybe inside. And that's what they're thinking. You know, why am I being picked on? And it's interesting because the person probably has experienced Pluto in a way picking on them in their life. Like I was saying about how Pluto comes in every once in a while to kind of shut down or create some balance and maybe how big the person's head has gotten. Hey, I can say all this because I have Sun Square Pluto. And I think something really important when working with these aspects is recognizing that it doesn't make anyone bad or anything. You know, like these aspects are just here to help me create balance and harmony in my life. That's all it is. Yeah, I'm not a bad person. You know how many incredible people there are who have Sun Square Pluto in their birth chart? You know what I mean? Talented people, but also people who are valued and appreciated by their friends and family in their life. So I just want to say that. So the sun person is magnifying the experience being the square, because the square is environmental. And Pluto is the magnifying glass. So when I was saying about how Sun Square Pluto can make great detectives, as long as they don't have a chip on their shoulder, as long as they're not paranoid or, you know, worried about someone's out to get them, you know? We're great at finding clues in a situation to help us understand what's happening beneath the surface. Because we recognize that things that look really, really beautiful aren't always, you know, what they seem. That brings us to an example, a story example that I'm going to share. So, Mad Men, one of the characters is Betty Draper, and she's played by an actress called January Jones. And January Jones also has Sun Square Pluto in her birth chart. And the cool thing, well, I'm going to talk about one, So Betty Draper is a mother and a wife. Physically speaking, she's very beautiful, she's very attractive, and she suits the conventional beauty standards of the time. So this is the 1950s in America. Very beautiful, suits that sort of conventional beauty standard. I thought this was a great example of the story I'm about to share because I feel like it shows an excess of pride. So we've got Betty Draper, It's late at night. Her car breaks down. She's on the side of, it looked like a dirt road. Not a dirt road, but it's a dark road. It's not lit. And a car drives by. I don't remember, I think she maybe waves him down just a little. The man gets out of the car and he helps her, fix the car. And she does her thing. She flirts with him because it's almost like that's her payment for his service in a way, is her flirtation. And just as she's finished, she's done her thing, she's about to walk back to her car, the man grabs hold of her hand and it startles her because she's not expecting it. And he just looks at her. And the way that he looks at her is in a way to suggest that in that moment he could do anything he wanted with her because no one's around. It's like a way to put her into her place. From a feminist perspective, you know what I mean? Or not even, I don't even have to say feminist, just from a perspective of you don't treat people like that, okay? But from the perspective of, and nothing happens in that way after that, she kind of retrieves her hand and goes back to her car. But in this sort of Sun Square Pluto way, I thought this was an interesting scene to talk about because, again, it's the sun with this sort of excessive pride about something. For little Betty Gilpin, it was theater, or I understand the dynamics of theater and how to make an audience laugh or whatever. For Betty Draper, it's I'm physically attractive and beautiful, and I know how to use this to service my needs in life. And so Pluto's coming in and saying, hey, wait a minute, in a way putting her in her place, right? I'm just trying to, just in terms of symbolics here, because the sun person has that excess of pride. Pluto, it also does this thing where it magnifies, right? It makes things more extreme. So in the characteristic, the identity of the individual, there's so much space that's being taken up by I'm beautiful and I can use it to service my needs in life, that there are other characteristics in the individual that haven't been developed the way that maybe they should be. There's an overcompensation happening. So it feels like this individual is Pluto symbolically, again, kind of bursting that bubble for the character. Okay. And I think this is all happening because the sun person has lessons to learn about their ego. So the Sun Square Pluto person can experience experiences that kind of knock the person down a peg, Because sometimes, for me, like, I don't even realize when I'm being super, like, egoic. I'm trying to find words, you know what I'm saying? When my head's gotten so big. And so for other people, it can feel like it's kind of there, and it's a little unnerving, right? It makes someone feel restless. They don't want to be around that. Because it's like the sun person isn't even really being themselves all of a sudden. Like they're being a caricature of their self or something. And so I think other people can feel that and it rubs them the wrong way. Something that I've done to try and combat this personal dynamic is to, whenever I get the sense that maybe that's happening around me, because I don't feel it myself, but through other people I can see that maybe something's happening, I try to take a step back. I try to take a step inward. I relax and I let go of whatever it is that I want in the situation. So let's say it's recognition. I want them to ask for my opinion. I want them to recognize something that I've done. Whatever it is that I'm seeking out of the situation, I do my best to let that go, at least for the time being. And I just take a step inward and I ask myself, how do I feel? And maybe there's no response initially, but eventually, after asking that question, Maybe I have to ask many times. Not pushing, not pressuring, but asking. Eventually, it's like the envelope opens and all these thoughts and feelings come out that tell me about how I am feeling or how I was feeling in the situation. And and I just accept and embrace that. And I move back closer to home, closer to zero, ground zero, back to who I am. I'm a peaceful soul, back to my essence, my truth, my nature. And that helps me let go of whatever I was wanting or holding on to so much. I must have this, that kind of desire. It's not so strong anymore. And I find that when I do that, I've received so much internally. I'm reminded, oh, I've got everything I need right here. And then that's when, those same people are seeking my company, seeking to hear about my experience, what I think. All of a sudden they're giving me the thing that I wanted. But I don't really want that thing so much anymore because I have what I have inside. And that's what I wanted in the first place. I just didn't realize it. I was trying to take, little bits and pieces from outside. But I actually have everything I need inside. So it's cool. It feels like that's the beautiful fruit that can grow from the manure that's mixed into the soil, that manure being Pluto. And I think the soil, I guess, is the square. Because Pluto rules really precious things. I'm pretty sure, I'll double check. Pluto rules precious metals, and it also rules manure, right? Poop, rubbish. And when we mix that sort of organic matter into the soil, beautiful things can now grow, beautiful fruit can flourish. Yeah, I love that Pluto rules that experience of recycling, so something that is rubbish can turn into gold, and something that seems like it's gold, right? Sun square Pluto, it seems like it's gold. It seems like I know what I'm talking about. It seems like I'm the most beautiful woman in the world and I'm invincible. And then Pluto comes in and says, humble yourself. Anyways, so the thing that seems like it's gold gets turned into rubbish in a way. It's like, you're full of crap. You know what I'm saying? But it's good because when we mix that rubbish into the soil, when we work with it, the soil of the square, when we work with it, when we work with ourselves, then something beautiful and real and natural can grow. And then the thing that I wanted, it comes to me anyway. So yeah, this has been my Sun Square Pluto video. And I wanted to share a list of celebrities who also have this aspect, because none of us are alone. So I'm gonna get that list out right now. Okay. So there's January Jones, she played a Betty Draper in Mad Men. There is Kristen Bell, who, has been in The Good Place. She's in that new show with the man. He's a rabbi and she's dating him. She's also been in Veronica Mars as a detective, which is pretty cool. That's who she played. Elizabeth Moss from, Handmaid's Tale. Emma Roberts, I feel like, oh my God, she's so Sun Square Pluto in awesome ways. She was Scream Queens and has been on American Horror Story and all sorts of things. I know. I notice I focus a lot on women, and I think that's just because I am a woman. But let me see if I can find some. Pierce Brosnan has Sun Square Pluto. Used in things. I don't know if it's Milo Ventimiglia. But he was in Heroes. He was awesome. I loved him in Heroes. Cameron Monaghan, who was one of the kids in Shameless. Sasha Pieters, and she was in Pretty Little Liars. She was, you know, the one that died. I mean, there's so many. There were some that I was even shocked about. Thaisa Farmiga, who was in that really cool movie where she's like this really like badass like monster killer or something. Tony Goldwyn, who dated our girl in Scandal. Olivia, he dated her because he was like the president. Topher Grace, I've just heard his name before. I don't actually know him like that. Marissa Tomei. Jason Segel from How I Met Your Mother. Actually, that's interesting. Jason Segel, and then also Barney, Neil Patrick Harris. It also has Square Pluto, and they're both in How I Met Your Mother. That's interesting. Ice Cube, Juliana Margulies, and she was in The Good Wife, the main character. Jamie Foxx. Anyways, I could, like, there's so many, so I'm just gonna stop there. Mike Myers, okay, I'm done. I promise I'm done. But we're all over the place, you know, so yeah.